Welcome back to our busy kitchen. While we were waiting for the pie shells to bake, I pulled out 2 cups of frozen raspberries. Now, the raspberry filling that we're using for the raspberry cream pie can be made with fresh, which is what I would prefer. I use 2 to 3 cups, and I'm using 2 cups today. That'll work just fine. I've thawed them. They're ready to have the thickening agents put in. And what I'm using today is a flour and sugar thickening. What I have is a 1/4 cup of flour and a 1/2 cup of sugar. And I'm actually going to, so that I don't have any lumps of flour, I'm going to mix the sugar and the flour together until it is well blended. And then I'm going to add the thickening and sweetening to the raspberries. And I just about have that. Looks good. I'm going to stir very quickly here so that we don't have any lumps. Now, another hint is that I always combine the flour and the sugar before I turn on the heat. So even though I'm at the stove, I don't have any heat yet. And now that I have this well blended and there are no lumps, that's when I can start the heat. Now, this is a pudding base, not a jelly base. And because of the thickening in it, I cannot leave the stove. I have to stir it until it has turned a dark color and starts to pull away from the sides. So it's going to be 3 or 4 minutes for this to get hot, and then maybe a couple more minutes for it to thicken. And then once it thickens, I want to cook it on lower heat for a couple of minutes because flour retains its floury taste unless it's well cooked. So in juices like the fruit juice, it has a wonderful flavor once it is well cooked and combined. So that's the process we're going to have. So if you'll excuse me for a minute, or 2, or 5, I'll thicken this. And after that, we're going to add a little butter and a little lemon juice before we put it in the paste. As you can see, I've traded my spoon that I originally started for a wooden spatula paddle. I really like this because it keeps the filling from sticking to the bottom, and it's just been a wonderful all-purpose tool. So highly recommend that. Second thing, you'll notice that the raspberries have really broken down, and it becomes more of a paste that's homogeneous. I've used that word before, but if you'd like, once this has thickened and starts to cool, you can put in some whole berries if that's the texture that you would like to have. When I use fresh berries, I usually thicken about 2/3 of the berries and save about 1/3 of the berries for adding after it's thickened, and then the berries retain their whole shape and give it a little more polished look to the pie. It won't make any difference in the taste, and that's why when I don't have fresh berries, I just use this kind of pudding filling that you see here. Now, this has been cooking. It's thick, it's dark. I'm making sure that it doesn't stick or burn. And now I'm going to turn the heat off. It's bubbling when I let it sit. That's another indication that it's well cooked. I'm going to add a tablespoon of butter. I really like the way it tastes with the butter, and it gives a silkiness to the pudding. Now, remember, the heat is off. I'm also going to squeeze about a 1/4 of lemon, and I made sure that there are no seeds. I'm keeping my hand here just in case I need to catch it, but I'm pretty sure we're seedless here. And so that's going to translate into, and there was a seed, so I'll rescue that in just a bit. That is going to translate between a teaspoon and a teaspoon and a half of lemon. I find it freshens the taste of the raspberries and brightens the taste. It was a trick my grandma used, and I I love raspberry cream pie without lemon in the filling, but I love it even more with the lemon in the filling.